Donald Trump finished speaking at his victory rally in Washington, D.C. just 15 minutes ago, and we learned that he plans to sign 50 executive orders after taking office tomorrow. But one of his initiatives, mass immigration raids in Chicago, has been postponed for tomorrow after details were leaked to the media. But the sum of the executive orders he could sign could include declaring a national emergency on the southern border, cutting off funding for climate-related provisions of President Biden's Inflation Reduction Act, and reclassifying thousands of federal workforce positions so they can be filled with political appointees. Incoming top Trump Homeland Security advisor Stephen Miller hinted at some of these changes in his speech at the Trump rally today.
Accountability is coming. Justice is coming. The whole federal bureaucracy is about to learn that they don't work for themselves, they work for you, they work for President Trump, and they work for the American people.
Joining me now, April Ryan, Washington bureau chief and senior White House correspondent for Black Press USA, MSNBC contributor and author of Black Women Will Save the World, an Anthem. And Tara Setmeyer, co-founder and CEO of the Seneca Project and a former GOP communications director. Thank you both very much for coming back to the Sunday show. Tara, your reaction to Stephen Miller, what he just said there?
Well, it sends shivers down my spine, and it should for any American who is a good and decent person who is concerned about the fact that we have people like Stephen Miller in control of it. This country needs to get ready. I don't think a lot of people fully appreciate what they're about to usher in tomorrow when Donald Trump takes office. At the Seneca Project, we put a video out called Get Ready because people need to be fully prepared. We have got to be prepared for what the next 4 years are going to look like. The idea of mass deportations and the cruelty is the point, and this imperialistic presidency is incongruent with what our democracy is supposed to stand for. It's incongruent with people who are not the oligarchs and the elitists who aren't going to benefit from the power elite. It's incongruent with that. I don't know how any of this, and I'm curious to see how MAGA is going to explain how any of these 50 executive orders or this imperialistic presidency or this ruling by fiat is going to help the average Americans who thought they were voting to reduce the price of eggs. It's not. This is very ugly, and it's going to impact a lot of people in ways that I don't think they're fully prepared for. And frankly, it's troubling. But we have to be prepared and ready to fight this for the next 4 years.
April, you know, just while we've been on air, news is coming out that the deportation operation that was expected to begin in Chicago on Tuesday has now been postponed due to media leaks, according to two sources to NBC with knowledge of the plans. Postponed, not canceled.
Jonathan, they still want the element of surprise, the shock and awe. Postponed when you don't expect it would happen. I wouldn't be surprised if it catches us off guard a month or two down the road when we forget about it. But you have to remember, this is what this president, well, this incoming president, the president-elect still until noon tomorrow, what he talked about in the first term. Remember, there was so much controversy about the border. There was controversy about how those who were going to be sent back were even detained and held in cages. This president is true to his word. And just like Tara said, people sometimes have to see it to believe it. Trust me, you will see. And what he says is real. Believe what he says. It's going to happen. But remember also, they like the shock and awe and the theater of it all. So if it's leaked out, there's not going to be that shock and awe and that punch that I told you I was going to do it and I did it. So they'll do it probably another place.
Tara, let me play you, switching gears a little bit. Steve Bannon was on ABC this week today talking about the oligarchs and what he thinks they're doing. Watch this.
As soon as Zuckerberg said, I've been invited and I'm going, the floodgates opened up and they were all there knocking, trying to be supplicants. So I look at this, and I think most people in our movement look at this as President Trump broke the oligarchs. He broke them, and they surrendered.
I mean, Tara, that is one of the knocks on what's happening now, that Trump is breaking people, or people are obeying in advance.
Yeah, that's one of our themes at the Seneca Project is do not obey in advance. We've taken that from the wise words of historian Timothy Snyder in his book On Tyranny. And to watch so many of these people obey in advance, including many in the media, not you, Jonathan, but many in the media have done this, not you, April, that is interesting to watch, because it's not that Donald Trump has broken these oligarchs, it's transactional. It's very important how we put this in context and how this is reported out to people. This is all about transactional political expediency for them. It's because they want to make more money, because their businesses are potentially threatened. So they're currying favor. This has nothing to do with him breaking them. If anything, they actually own him. You think Elon Musk is doing this out of the goodness of his heart? He owns Donald Trump, and Trump knows that. He owes his entire presidency to him. So when the average American starts to realize that they've been duped, the ones that voted for Donald Trump, not those of us who knew better, but those who were duped by Donald Trump, MAGA, they're lost. But the other folks, or the ones that stayed home or thought that it didn't matter, they're about to find out how much it does matter, because this is not what they signed up for. They're going to realize they're the ones left in the dust, obeying in advance. It turns my stomach, because you're watching this and it is an oligarchy. And I praise, good for President Biden for making that point and people paying attention to it. And also, let's not forget, Steve Bannon is a felon. And I hope more people start to remind folks who these people are. That's a convicted felon. Why do we care what the hell he has to say?